All right, we are in section 3.4 where we're going to solve equations with variables on both sides. Things we have to keep in mind in this particular section is the first thing we kind of have to identify are there any like terms that we have to combine on one side of the equal sign. So like in this example here, so we have the 4x and the negative 9x, they would combine, and also the 7 and the negative 13 would combine. So we have to combine those before we do any type of inverse operation like the 6x minus 17 equals 25. So here's some steps to kind of help you keep things in mind when you are solving equations with variables on both sides. Like I said before, make sure you combine like terms that have the same variable with the corresponding powers on either side. All constant values are like terms, and um, once you figure that out, same side of the equal sign, just do the operation shown. Inverse operation for solving the equation, and then it says whatever you do to one side you must do to the other. To solve with fractions and coefficients, you can multiply them by their reciprocals. So with that being said, let's look at some examples. The first one here, I have 13 plus 5x equals 2x minus 8. In this particular example, there are no like terms on either side of the equal sign. So now what I want to do is I want to get both x values on the same side, and I want to get both constant values on the same side. So first thing I want to kind of look at is the variable. So since 5 is larger than 2, I'm going to subtract 2x to both sides, so I get a positive coefficient here. And then it gives me 13 plus 3x equals a negative 8. Then from here we can just solve it accordingly. So now I just subtract 13 from both sides. I get 3x equals, it'll be what, a negative 21. Divide everything by 3. X is going to equal a negative 7. Okay. Looking at B, there are no like terms right away, but we have this 2 times by the quantity of negative 4j minus 13. So I'm going to distribute this first. So I got this 40 plus 14j equals, when I distribute that, I'm going to get negative 8j minus 26. Okay, and then for the sake of trying to make the coefficient of my variable positive, I'm going to add 8j to both sides. So now I got 40 plus, looks like 22j equals a negative 26. From here, I'm going to subtract 40 to both sides. So now I have 22j on one side. I take 26, negative 26 minus 40. That gives me a negative 66. Finally, divide everything by 22. And negative 66 divided by 22 is j is going to give me, I can't write it over there, so let's move this down. That means j is going to give me a negative 3. Okay, looking at this example C, now you could multiply the right hand side by 1/5, but it's not as easy. But what if I multiplied both sides by the reciprocal, which is 5 over 1? So I multiplied 5 over 1 on both sides, cancel out the 1/5 on the right hand side, but I have 5 on the left hand side, so I have to distribute the 5 over the 4x minus 5 instead. It's a lot easier to do than the 1/5 over the 5x plus 20. So if I distribute that, I get 20x minus 25. Now that's going to be equal to 5x plus 20. So from here, I'm going to subtract 5x to both sides. I get 15x minus 25 equals 20. Bring it down a little bit. I'm going to add 25 to both sides. I get 15x equals, looks like 45. When I divide 15 to both sides, I get x equals 3. Okay. Now, there are special cases of solutions of equations. Now, not every equation is going to have one solution. There may be instances where it has no solutions or infinitely many solutions. So here is an example of what it'd be like to have no solutions. So you're still going to solve it out. You're going to distribute here, and I'm going to distribute here. So when I distribute out both of the sides of the equation, I get 12x plus 8 equals 12x plus 8. Yeah. So I'll go over here, subtracting 12x to both sides. So now, since those cancel, I'm left with 8. Oh, sorry. I'm left with 8 equals 8, which is a true statement. Since it's a true statement, this is where we have a situation where we have infinitely many solutions, or all real numbers. So if we go to the next example here, again, we're going to distribute these two values. So now I get 6a plus 6 equals 6a plus 6. I subtract 6a to both sides. I get 6 equals 6. So now that's a situation where we have infinitely many solutions. Now, if we wanted to find where it would be like no solutions, here's what we'd have. So say if I had an example like 4x plus 13 equals 2 times by the quantity of 2x plus 5. So I don't have to do any distributing over here, but I would have to distribute over here, which gives me 4x plus 10. When I subtract 4x to both sides, I get 13 equals 10. Well, 13 does not equal 10, so that's where we get the no solution. All right, and that is being able to solve equations with variables on both sides. Hope this helps. Until next time.